Good afternoon, hello, welcome to the TriathlonDan YouTube channel, welcome to another day of no triathlon training. This video is all about a disc wheel versus a disc wheel cover. What are the pros, what are the cons, how much do they weigh, how fast are they in a wind tunnel, etc. The whole shebang, top to bottom. Let's get cracking. So I found that I don't really do enough of this, sharing products that I use, products I'm aware of and things. So I'm certainly something I'm going to try and do more of on this channel. So here we go. Whenever I talk about a product, I always try and find who's responsible for either making or selling that product, and I make sure that they are a super cool person before I start endorsing stuff. So the person who owns the company who created this disc cover called Easy Disc is a gentleman called Clint. You might have seen him on the channel a few times. We went open water swimming a few weeks ago, or in an open air pool. He's been in various event videos in the past, but I'm just going to give a little brief summary of how I know Clint and how I know that he's a great guy. So I used to live in Norfolk, and we had a local sprint triathlon pretty close to us. We all took it far too seriously for the type of event that it was, but Clint was one of the competitors at that event, and me and him got talking. I think it was in transition or outside the pool somewhere. We basically quickly found the common ground of liking to ride our bikes very fast. He's a very confident and charismatic guy, and yeah, he's a hoot to be around. So that's how I know Clint. Clint also has a great story about how he found the sport of triathlon and what triathlon did for him, but he has promised me that he will come on the channel to do some sort of podcast style interview at some point, so sit tight for that. I'll try and get him on the next few weeks. But you're not here for that, you're here for the products, you're here to talk about these. I need to stop banging this on the wall. You're here for these, so let's get cracking. When Clint got into triathlon a few years ago, he wanted a disc wheel, but for whatever reason, deemed a solid disc wheel too expensive or a waste of money, and so therefore started trying some disc wheel covers. He quickly found that they weren't very good. The ones that he tried were rattly or didn't fit right or fell to bits. So he set about creating his own. And this is actually the version 3 of the Easy Disc. So it comes in 2 parts, basically one side for the drive side, one side for the non-drive side, obviously. And it is a disc wheel cover. And he has put so much work into this, and the people who have tested this and guided him throughout this process, it really is a commendation to him as to how much effort he's put towards this. And that's resulted in the product you see today. So getting the product out of the box feels like quite a sturdy item. Obviously it's plastic, but like it's there's something to it. It's not like it's going to blow around in the wind. It feels really good. It feels really strong, and I was certainly impressed with how rigid it is for what is essentially just a molded piece of plastic. There's probably a better word for the plastic, and he might kick me for saying that, but that's my interpretation. So he very kindly provided one for Liz to test, which we have done, hence why I feel informed enough to do this video. And I'm going to try and answer a few questions that certainly I had initially and that you guys probably have. But if you do have any more questions or any more comments, your thoughts about disc wheels versus disc wheel covers, please do let me know down below. So why would you buy a disc wheel cover instead of a solid disc? Or why would you buy a solid disc instead of a disc wheel cover? So I have a solid disc and Liz is using the Easy disc wheel cover. So we've got both answers here really. I bought a solid disc wheel because I wanted one. They were pretty bling, they make a good noise, they're supposed to go fast, and they're a good product. Done. Liz has got the Easy Disc because she doesn't want to spend the money that these solid disc wheels are, but she does want the gains of a disc wheel. So for somebody who races quite infrequently, this disc wheel cover seemed a lot more bang for buck than a solid disc wheel. And if you're going to put an actual price point on it, I paid about £1,000 for this disc wheel second hand. I think they're about £1,600 or £1,700 brand new. That's probably not far off $2,000 for those in America. And this Easy disc wheel cover is £145, which is probably about $160. So you're talking 10% of the cost of a solid disc wheel for a disc wheel cover. That's a massive amount of saving, isn't it? So is this as fast as one of these? Well, Clint has dug deep in his pockets and took this to a wind tunnel and actually had this wind tunnel tested, both against shallow wheels, deep wheels, premium disc wheel and so on. I'm not going to try and butcher the results. I'm going to leave a link to the results down below. There's numbers, there's graphs, everything's explained, different yaw angles, all of that I probably don't understand is in the data down there. However, in summary, the disc wheel cover is ever so slightly not as fast as a solid disc wheel, but is faster than a deep section wheel and a shallow wheel. And for the difference between the disc and the disc cover, I think it really is worth considering buying a disc cover rather than a disc. The way I think about it as well is, and the way that Clint explained it to me is, often people have like a summer set of wheels or a race set of wheels, and there'll be a premium product, or there'll be quality, good hubs, good tyres and all of that. If you're then going to buy a disc wheel, it probably should be a quality disc wheel for it to be any better than your quality deep section wheel or quality race wheel. Therefore, you've got to compare the premium disc to the Easy Disc really. And in Liz's situation, so Liz uses a zip wheel set. She's got a zip 808 rear wheel and a 404 front wheel. So if she was to go to a disc wheel, ideally she would need a premium disc wheel for it to be any better than the zip 808. Good hub, good spokes, etc. So putting the Easy Disc cover on actually means you can keep all of those quality products and those race day only items that you save for race day, so they're not much wear and tear on them, without having to buy another premium product. How much does it weigh? So these come in different depths. I'm going to put this one down now, my arms are tired. They come in different depths depending what depth wheel you have. So this one I've got in my hand is one for shallow wheels, so you'll notice it's quite longer. The one that is on Liz's bike at the minute is meant for deep wheels because the wheel comes in more, so you don't need the disc cover to go out as far, which makes it a bit lighter. They're between 600 and 800 grams per wheel. So yes, it will more than likely come in a little bit heavier than a solid disc wheel. However, on a time trial and most triathlon courses, weight doesn't really matter at all. It is more about the aerodynamics. If you're worried about crosswinds, and that's something that Liz definitely was worried about, the Easy Disc isn't going to be any better or any worse than a solid disc in crosswinds. Liz has ridden on this on a crosswind, cross-tail day, and it was absolutely fine. She was worried about it before, but on the back wheel, you're not that affected by the wind as much as you are on the front, so you're able to run a disc in more conditions than you might think. In terms of fitting, I'm not going to get into a how-to video because, as Clint will agree with me, it took me a little while to do it at first because I didn't have the right depth for Liz's wheel because I'm a bit of a fool and told Clint the wrong depth. Anyway, when I got the right one along, thanks Clint, you basically fit one side with some cable ties to the spokes and as many holes as you can, nice and tight, and then the other side basically clips to the other side of the disc with some bolts. I've fitted that, and Liz has done it ridden on a couple of times now, and it's been absolutely fine. It doesn't rattle, doesn't wobble, doesn't move. It is great. Is it going to damage my wheels when I put them on? Well, in most cases, no. Clint has had a couple of occasions where the discs have rubbed people's carbon wheels, and that's been put down to them not being fitted tight enough. However, as you'll see on the Liz's rear wheel, I've just put a line of electrical tape just around the wheel where that plastic makes contact. I think it's reasonable to assume if you put two solid surfaces together and then move ever so slightly, there's going to be a small amount of marking, but putting a bit of tape on there just removes that. Obviously, it might wear through the tape eventually, but it's just something to keep an eye on. So, no, providing you fit it properly, it won't mark, but just to be extra safe, I'll put some electrical tape on the rear wheel. Most importantly, does it make the whomp, whomp, whomp noise that a disc wheel makes? Yes, it's probably not as loud. However, yes, there is a whomp, whomp, whomp noise from this disc wheel cover. You know you were thinking it. I was definitely thinking it. So I think that is about it. I'm going to try and get some footage of Liz on it in the next few weeks, but she's definitely looking to use it in all of her time trial and triathlon escapades this year. So if you're interested in checking out Easy Disc, I'll leave the website and Instagram and Facebook. He's everywhere. Links down below. Feel free to fire either Clint or I any questions, and I'll probably just divert it to Clint because I don't know. But genuinely, a great guy who's put real hard work into developing a great product for an excellent price point. I couldn't be happier to recommend the product. And if you're looking for a disc wheel without the cost of a disc wheel, you probably should have a good look at Easy Disc. So there we go, that's my first review video for a little while. I'm not quite on like the Shane Miller DC Rainmaker level just yet, but I'm going to work on it. I prefer to use the the real world examples of how I've actually used something rather than just the theory. But yeah, there you go. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below. That's the most important part. And I'll see you tomorrow at 4 PM for I don't really know what.